Hi everyone, this is Raquel here from scrapcosy. Today I'm going to show you how to create this card inspired by the current fortnight challenge by PaperArtsy, which is squares. My squares, which are actually rectangles, are a mosaic of postal vintage stamps that I created using a very nice paper collection by Tim Holtz, along with some Sizzix dies. On 3 of the stamps, I'll be writing my sentiment using a gold ink that I created recently. I'll add the link to the video so you can see how I make it. This card is for my cousin Alex, who will turn 16 in a few days' time. I hope he doesn't see the video before his birthday, so shh, don't tell him anything, okay? Let's get started. This is the wallflower paper collection by Tim Holtz. If you used Tim Holtz before, you'll know that he likes to add the same paper patterns in a reduced version at the end of the stash. I never know how to use them until today. They will look amazing for the little stamps. So I just cut them, and then as you can see here, I'm framing them so then you can have an idea of how the stamps will look like. So now I will bring my cuttle back and an A plate, a C plate and a B plate in order to make my sandwich, and use the die in between with the paper so then I can cut everything. I'm using washi tape to keep the frame in place because I don't want it to move. I want to be particularly picky on how I center the image. So I'll repeat this with all the stamps that I need, which are a lot. So then I'll cut the video shortly so we can move on to the next step. So now it's everything cut and everything in the place that I liked it to be. So I took a picture with my mobile, and my next step is to select the 3 stamps where I will be writing my sentiment. I will be using this gold ink that I created in my previous video. What I'm doing here is with a stick, I'm just making sure that I mix the 2 materials together, which is the water and mostly the pigment base, until I get the homogeneous fluid, that is the ink. Now, in a scrap piece of paper, I'll practice and see if the ink and this paper behave correctly together, and it seems it's okay. So I'll move on and use the real papers that I chose for the sentiments in the card. I'm okay with the letters, but with the numbers I haven't practiced that much, so I'm just trying there the 16th, and it seems it's okay too, more or less I like it, so I move on to the real thing now. And it just remains to write birthday. I had never done calligraphy before until now with a proper calligraphy pen and ink, and I'm really enjoying it a lot. So if you are thinking that you may kind of like to try, really go for it. It's really addictive, it's very nice, and it's really relaxing actually. Okay, so let's set those aside for them to just dry because the ink is very wet right now. And what I'll be doing is just inking up all the stamp bases and the stamps themselves with some inks. For the base, which is, each stamp has 2 parts, right? One is the base, which is on that clear or cream cardboard, which I'll be changing the color using antique linen ink. And then the stamp on top, which is the picture, which I'll be inking with some vintage photo. And then because there are too many, we will jump to the next step, and you can imagine how I did them all. So the next step involves the ATG gun, which provides this dry glue, which I like it so much, and it's permanent, or it's supposed to be. And I'll be sticking everything together, all the stamps, except for the gold ones, the ones that I handwritten, because they will need still to dry a little bit more. And now that I finish, I'm going to rearrange everything in place, and since I'm not sure how it looked like, I'm bringing out my mobile and I'm saying how everything should be put in place. So I'm putting all the squares there. I'm making sure that I leave the margin that I like between them, and then with a pencil I mark the lines on where I need to cut, because I want to cut that square which will be sticked on top of the card base. So I'm using the ruler there, but since I'm not sure about the angle, I'm just using a paper to make sure that I make a rectangle angle. So now I'm using some scissors to just cut along the lines, and later on you'll see that I actually go again and use a trimmer to make a proper a straight line. So that I'm measuring where I need to fold my card base, and then with the help of the score pal I'm going to score a line there where the mark is, so then I can make sure that the folding takes place very nice and neatly. So with the bone folder I really press hard to make sure that the card is folded very well. And then, as I explained, I'm trimming those edges again to make them straight, and then I'm cutting the card base too. Since it's very thick, you don't see me here, but I'm actually standing up and putting all my weight on top of that part of the trimmer to make sure that it doesn't move, because otherwise it wouldn't make it a straight line and a straight cut. So I'm removing the pencil marks that I have, and I'm going to edge all the margins, both on the card base and also on the actual square where I will be gluing everything. And I'm also inking everything actually on that square, first with a first layer of ground espresso distress ink, and then I'll put vintage photo on top to cover everything up. And to finish with the ink, the only pending pieces to be inked up are the sentiment ones, and I'm taking very carefully the papers without touching the ink at all, just in case that it's not fully dry. And then the next step is going to be to stick everything in place. But first, let's go and stick the handwritten pieces together. And now back again to rearrange everything in place. Now I don't need a mobile, I know them by heart where they should be. So what I will be doing is starting with the corners, and then once I finish with those, my idea is to stick the pieces in the center centered, so then I know exactly how much space I need to leave between. But here, hey, well, I made a mistake and I wanted to stick it in place beforehand. Now I can put it and it's centered. So I go to the next corner, and what is my surprise when the HG can glue actually doesn't stick it properly. I put again and no, it's not sticking. It's like, what the hell is going on here? So apparently this paper must be kind of like a recycle type paper, and then the fibers get stick to the glue, and no matter how much glue I put, I keep on removing those fibers, so I need to go to something stronger. So I'll move on to Mod Podge, and that will stick everything in place. I don't particularly like to use wet glue in paper cards, because honestly the paper gets with the shape, gets combed, I don't know, so I really don't like it. But Mod Podge, at least despite of the paper having a weird shape afterwards, if you don't flatten it out, at least it dries very fast, and that's very good. Well, it's very good, but also it's very bad. You need to act very quickly. So you just need to put everything, the glue, and then make sure that you stick it in place very, very quickly. But then it seems that it's working, so it works for me. Since the back is the same material, the same recycled paper, I can't use the ATG gun again, so I'll be using the Mod Podge. Ideally, for a larger surface, you would need a larger brush. But since I have had already a small one in my hand, I decided to use it. So I acted very quickly, added lots of glue, and then with my hands, which were very dirty anyway, I tried to stick it as I could. And finally I finished, and I think it looked okay. And the last step is to put the brush into water. So this is all for today. I hope you liked it. Here are some close-up photos so you can see all the details, especially the ink. Don't you like it? I just love it. If you like this type of video, subscribe to my channel to see more, and I would really appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. And of course, happy birthday, Alex! Bye!